Am I the a-hole for being uncomfortable with my fiance, female 21, going on a trip with her older male best friend? My fiance, F21, who I am marrying in 3 months, is currently on a trip with her best friend, M29, and I am stuck alone at home just thinking non-stop about it. To preface, we have been in a bit of a rough patch over the holidays. During Thanksgiving, I looked over my fiance's shoulder to see that she was texting her guy best friend about our sex life. When I brought it up, it was in a half-joking manner, but it got across I was uncomfortable with it. She shut down on me. I felt pretty abandoned in that moment, as she instantly went to that guy best friend to talk about it, as I once again saw her texting from over her shoulder. Starting it off with, apparently, Opie is pissed about us talking about sex. About 20 minutes of laying in bed not talking to each other. We talked it over, and she said she wouldn't do it again now that she knew I was uncomfortable with it. In September, she had discussed going on a trip to Vegas as a couple's trip with me, her guy best friend, and his girlfriend, F28. I was fine with this and was excited to go. I took the appropriate days off work and was looking forward to it. Later on, she said that plane ticket prices were up more than she could afford. She works in aviation, so she's more knowledgeable than me about this kind of stuff, and the trip would just be her and her guy friend. This was before the incident on Thanksgiving, so I saw no issue. Fast forward to this past week. I had told her that just her and him going on the trip would make me uncomfortable. She said she wouldn't go if I was uncomfortable with it, but they had gotten a room with 2 separate beds and had set ground rules. I didn't want to be controlling, so I said they should still go on the trip because I didn't want my insecurity to ruin their good time. Now that they just got there today, the reality of the situation set in for me. I told my family about it because they could tell I was upset, and they all said they wouldn't be comfortable if they were in my situation. I know that them going on the trip was partially my doing, given I gave the okay. I just feel like telling her that she can't do it again when she gets back, because I know if the shoe was on the other foot, and I went on a trip alone with a female, she would be super upset. Not sure what to do, as I am considering postponing the wedding because of this. My family told me to make a Reddit post to get some insight, so here I am. Thanks for reading. Relevant comments. Comment. NTA. You should not be marrying anyone who would plan a couple's trip and then cut out the SOs so that they can go alone together to Vegas. A woman who loved her fiancé would not do that. She has an inappropriate relationship with this guy. She has no business talking to him about your sex life. She sounds immature and definitely not ready for marriage. We had a couple's counseling appointment on Thursday, and I said I couldn't trust her, and I have been making myself responsible for her feelings, and I won't tolerate guilt-tripping or other manipulative tactics from my partner to get what they want. We're taking a 3-month break, and if we do get back together, we will be starting from scratch. I am taking this time to reflect upon what I value in a partner, as well as taking time to get back in touch with who I am. Thanks for all the support and insight. Really helped me through this difficult time. Smiley face. Commenter. Are you okay? Oh, I'm doing a lot better. Still definitely in the grieving process, but I also feel like I have been grieving this relationship for a long time. I've come to realize, even if they didn't physically cheat, which I highly doubt, at bare minimum, I was emotionally cheated on. Your partner should be your person, and you should be comfortable to share anything with them. I wasn't, because I knew she had no concept of boundaries and would blab about our relationship to her friends, one of them being the guy she went on the trip with. It's not that this friend was a guy that upsets me, but the fact she felt like he should have intimate details of our relationship. She considered cutting them off during Thanksgiving because of her assumptions that they had blocked her, because she was spamming them with texts and they wouldn't respond. All in all, I am trying to pick up the pieces and learn to live for myself again, as well as trying to shed myself of my people-pleasing survival tactic. Loneliness sucks, but it's way better than staying in a relationship out of a fear of being alone, especially if you're being mistreated. Update. I've had a lot of comments asking for an update in replies of my last post, and it has been long enough to where I feel my grieving process is essentially over. That, and something happened recently that opened my eyes. TLDR for last post. My ex-fiancée, female 22, went on a trip with one of her male friends who is almost 30 and left me at home. I'd like to start off by saying I appreciate every comment I got on the last post. I really appreciate the insight, and it helped me realize that I was in a toxic relationship. I didn't feel like I could tell her my real feelings, out of fear it would upset her. When I would upset her, she would often melt down completely and throw a pity party. These guilt trips would influence me to do things for her to make her happy. I definitely had a role in that, And it goes back to how I was treated as a child and how I developed people-pleasing behavior as a coping mechanism, but there's a lot in that relationship that I shouldn't have been putting up with in the first place. She would get weird if I had any female friends, or even if I was just hanging out with my best friend and his girlfriend, which is ironic given the circumstances. Looking back, there were very obvious signs she didn't care about me anymore. She would constantly show me TikToks as opposed to actually spending quality time with me, and when she wasn't showing me TikToks, she was texting the other guy while in my bed with me. She texted and called me a day before my birthday and told me, amongst other things, that we shouldn't get back together, we weren't going to anyways, and that the guy she went on the trip with and his girlfriend had broken up. I didn't really care about all this, and it just made me angry. I was upset that even after a month of not speaking, she has the audacity to not consider my feelings as a priority whatsoever. She never even apologized once. I made my feelings known to her. She, of course, got defensive, saying she didn't like my passive aggression and that her autism made her not understand social cues. All in all, this confirmed to me that I had made the right decision. She had asked me to take the original post down, as I had told her about its existence in a moment of anger. The post is still up, haha. I would like to say, to anyone in a toxic relationship, you are worth more than what they are giving you. You are worth more than the bare minimum consideration. You deserve to surround yourself with people that make you happy and encourage you to grow as a person, not someone that drains your energy and only seems to take. You aren't responsible for how anyone else feels. I love you all, and I'm ready to start this new chapter of my life. Relevant comments. Comment. I understand autism and not understanding social cues. She's straight up manipulating or attempting to manipulate to get what she wants. I'll bet that trip with the guy friend was to break everyone up to get her and him together. Good riddance to her. Oh, I really tried to be understanding and patient with her. Just seemed like it was used more as an excuse. Commenter. Her autism. What? LOL her WAT. LMFAO. I cannot even. The lie is so palpable you can almost spit it from across the electronic screen. Thank God you are free. I hope you find someone who completes you, makes you whole, and may you return this same vibe to them. Together may you and whomever you are with grow like great trees in the journey of life, for joy, delight, and prosperity too. But remember to not rush romance. You're looking for your best friend, your life partner. That comes perfectly when you are ready. So work on you until then. I am for sure working on myself now. The more time has gone on, the more I think of instances where she emotionally manipulated me into things I wasn't comfortable with. Hell, I was on the fence about proposing, but she thought in her head that we would get engaged after 2 years together, even though she knew I wasn't ready. I went into debt for this woman, and she didn't respect me enough to stay loyal. I appreciate the kind words, and I wish nothing but the best for you. Story 2. Am I the a-hole to divorce my husband and leave him with the kid after finding out I'm not biologically the mom? I can't believe my life has come to this. All I ever do is go out of my way to help others, but on the few occasions I need help, nobody ever comes through for me. I, 36 female, have been with my husband, 35 male, for a total of almost 10 years, married for 7. We had what I thought was my child by surrogate over 2 years ago, because after 4 years of trying to conceive with no success despite medical interventions, it turns out I am unable to carry a child to term. I had always wanted to be a mom. Devastated is an understatement regarding how I felt when I found out I have a medical condition that would make it nearly impossible to carry a baby to term. It was even more upsetting when I had to get a major surgery to remove uterine growths with the hope to increase fertility, and complications during surgery warranted a partial hysterectomy involving removal of my uterus only. I still had my ovaries, so we started looking into cost of a surrogate. It is really expensive. My close friend since college, who'd already had 2 kids of her own, offered to serve as the surrogate for us to cut down on costs. After 2 disappointing IVF sessions that did not result in pregnancy, she became pregnant on the 3rd try and carried a boy to term for us. I was so happy and busy after the birth, between being a mom and returning to work after a 4-week parental leave, so I didn't notice any warning signs. I should have noticed the red flags and warning signs early on, but did not because I was so exhausted from working so much at my stressful job and 2 part-time jobs to cover most of the bills and anticipated medical and legal costs associated with this friend becoming our surrogate. I was the primary breadwinner. My friend and my husband started talking more, and I would sometimes come home from my weekend job to find her already hanging out at our house when my husband was there. I chalked it up as innocuous and it's good for her to know my husband better since she was in the process of hopefully carrying our child for us. I was grateful to have someone helping us have a child. I also thought it weird that our son has brown eyes when both of us have blue. Then I found out that while this is uncommon, it's possible sometimes due to many genes controlling eye color. Recently, it all came to a head when I took our son to a doctor's appointment, and they did metabolic panel and blood tests which showed that he had a blood type that is not biologically possible to have with me as his mother. He's B+, I'm A+, husband is O+. Immediately, I started worrying it was the fertility clinic's fault and that they'd messed up and implanted a wrong embryo. I started lining up lawyer consultations to possibly sue the clinic and looked into having a DNA parentage test done. The test results showed that I'm not the mother, but my husband still is the father. I was heartbroken and angrier than ever. Talked to lawyers about medical malpractice in the fertility clinic we'd used. Then my husband confessed that he'd slept with my friend, our surrogate, on a few different occasions during our struggle to have her get pregnant with our embryos. This means what I thought was our son conceived by IVF and carried with a surrogate is my son at all, and was in fact conceived the old-fashioned way, which I can't ever do. Livid and absolutely broken at the same time doesn't even begin to describe how I feel. I have been breaking down into crying spells over and over again about this. He claims he didn't ever think pregnancy could result because he pulled out, and he had always assumed that he was the reason for our earlier struggles to conceive, both before my hysterectomy and during the IVF insemination process with this friend. I felt an immediate triple betrayal, from what was supposed to be my husband, my friend, and now knowing my child isn't even really mine. I had such white-hot rage and delirium. I immediately left home and stayed at a hotel for almost a week before asking my parents to let me stay at home for a while. I admit I left our son with him. I am now filing divorce because he cheated and betrayed me in the worst possible way. I've also cut off my friendship with my friend, the surrogate, and feel afraid to trust anyone else now. I have seen a divorce lawyer to see about giving up my legal rights to this kid so I don't have to face such betrayal or owe child support. My husband and friend/surrogate admit they were wrong and keep apologizing, but also called me immature and heartless to just give up on my son like that. My parents also say I can't just give up on a kid that I went through so many legal and medical hoops to have. When I told them I refused to stay in a cheater marriage and I'd rather adopt someday with a better, more trustworthy partner, they also told me I was wrong and that maintaining my parental rights isn't much different than if I adopted outright. They said it isn't blood that makes a family. They are all about me divorcing my cheater husband, but keep telling me I'm making a mistake giving up my parental rights. Some of my other friends agree with what I'm doing. A few admitted they weren't big enough to swallow pride and care for an affair baby, or to see daily reminders of my friend/surrogate's betrayal every time Ayuk at her son. I just want a clean break and a fresh start. I'm also looking at relocating several states away. AITA to give up my parental rights in the divorce because a kid I paid a lot of money to have born by surrogacy isn't biologically mine at all, but the surrogate. TLDR. I recently found out that a son that my husband and I had born to surrogate, since I'm infertile, is biologically my husband's kid, but not mine. My husband confessed that he slept with my friend, who served as surrogate, during the long IVF process, so the kid is actually conceived of an affair between my husband and friend/surrogate. I am filing for divorce and looking to give up my parental rights so I can move away and get a clean break from the whole situation without having to owe child support for a kid that's not mine. Some friends agree with my plan, but my husband and parents think I'm in the wrong to just cut off a kid I raised for 2 years. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. No, you're NTA. You've suffered a terrible betrayal. Only you can say what's best for you. Personally, I wouldn't be able to look at the child without being hit with the betrayal again and again. Your parents and friends don't have to actually deal with the situation. They don't get a vote. Your soon-to-be ex is a real piece of work. You're immature. I would want to throw up if I was in the same room with him. Please get some therapy to work through this. Don't let these two-way dollar holes hold you back from living your best life. OP. He feels like biological maternity shouldn't matter that much when it means I am finally fulfilling my dream of becoming a mother. He says that if I adopt someday, I'm still going to have to raise a child that is not biologically mine. He has reminded me about what a depressive wreck I was during the infertility, the aftermath of my partial hysterectomy, and how I put him through the ringer because I was obsessed with wanting to have a child. He claims that I pushed him away with my baby obsession and he couldn't deal with me anymore, and that's why he started spraying the way he did. He also says that I can't just turn my back on a child when I legally signed all the paperwork, which is similar to adoption paperwork, since the state doesn't readily recognize a child born to surrogate to be the couple's child, since they base it on the person who gave birth to the child as being the legal mother until paperwork is signed that transfers the rights over. He also claimed that I am going to have a difficult battle ahead of me trying to reverse that. OP should ask her husband and the surrogate to reimburse for the costs of IVF. OP, I tried and failed. The doctor and clinic I complained to said the IVF costs were associated with the formation and storage of embryos, and the procedures associated with insemination, not the outcome. OP responds on her ovaries/eggs being intact or not. OP, obviously I have eggs if my ovaries are intact, and they extracted eggs to form the embryos prior to inseminating. There's still eggs remaining there. OP explains the process of the fertility clinic being involved. OP, the fertility clinic was just involved in the egg extraction, embryo formation, and storage of eggs and embryos. Another medical practice utilized in vitro fertilization methods with the person I thought would be our surrogate. He did not pick the surrogate for us. It was a personal friend who agreed to do this out of a supposedly kindness of her heart, since she already had 2 prior children and knew that she could carry to term easily and didn't mind being pregnant. Had we gone through a professional surrogacy practice, there would have been other steps involved, and they would have found a few options for surrogates for us, but the costs were way too high, which is why we skipped some steps and a lot of money by going through a friend that we thought we could trust. Now, I feel like I can trust no one. I don't even feel like I could try surrogacy again far in the future, because my trust in that is broken. Commenter 2, Antia. One of the things that gets me is that you were working extra jobs to pay for the surrogacy, which I am assuming included her medical bills and financially supporting her. I would speak to a solicitor about suing her for your money back. She knew that if she was having sex, then there was always a chance that the child was biologically hers. OP, most of the cost was for the egg retrieval, embryos formation and storage, and especially the IVF procedures which weren't eligible for insurance cover through her health insurance. OP on the surrogate's family. OP, she doesn't have a husband. She had 2 kids with a long-term boyfriend, but they split 5 years or so ago. She's not married. She was with her ex for a long time and had 2 kids with him, but didn't marry. They broke up around 5 or 6 years ago. Did the surrogate sign legal papers regarding the parental rights? OP, the only paperwork that was legally drafted was for her transferring over the parental rights to us, much like an adoption in the event that there is already a mutual off-the-books agreement to adopt from someone already personally known. We were trying to do it as cheap as possible because we don't make much money, and the costs that couldn't be avoided were sky high enough to the point I took out loans from the bank and then picked up 2 part-time jobs on the side to pay toward these loans. Update, 5 months later. I'm low on time right now, but we'll be posting a separate update post later. I'm not staying, and I'm not caring for him anymore. I was not even offered a choice in the matter at all, which is why I've kept telling myself I shouldn't want to compare myself to men in a similar type of parentage situation, and have kept myself aloof toward the boy I thought was mine. I have no legal rights anymore no matter what, because Seichi fought to get her son back. I'm actually a lot more upset about losing this child that I presented in my post, and I'm realizing more and more with each passing day. The choice wasn't mine, and I lost. I posted that I wouldn't want to be the sucker raising someone else's kid as more of a cope than anything. She got to have her kid. He left me, and I'm stuck with nothing. Relevant comments. OP explains about being the legal guardian in the question after the maternal tests confirmed her not to be the biological mother. OP. And yes, that is exactly what I've been going through all these months. I have little to no rights. I'm stuck coping with major loss. My best chance at still being this boy's guardian is to stay with that awful scrub of a guy, hope he lets me stay, and agreeing to let that slore of a friend have 50-50 and be the chump who still pays most of the bills for that unmotivated scrub SOB in meantime while he continues to cheat. It also came out that she wasn't his only affair either. He's been cheating all along for most of the time that we've been trying without success to get pregnant. So for anyone who acts like I'm selfish, I make their blood boil. They can go fuck themselves because they don't know me like that, and I don't have any real choice in the matter.